What is or how can we identify a relationship crisis?
How can we identify a relationship crisis? In my opinion, and please be mindful, I am not a therapist, so I'm speaking from an expert point of view. Pay attention to the cues in your relationship. Pay attention to changes that take place in your relationship. And what I mean by that, it could be something as simple as the interaction that you're having with your partner that may not be the same. It is important, in my opinion, that communication always remains open in your relationship because communication is key for a healthy relationship, regardless what is going on. I don't think there's any key formula to identify a crisis or a trauma, but if you feel as though something is wrong or something is bothering you, don't be ashamed to talk to your partner about it. Because by avoiding it or turning a blind eye to it, it can escalate the situation to something that you don't want to escalate it to. So, is there a perfect formula? No. I don't have a perfect formula. I wish I can say if you do this, then it's going to prevent this. But that's not the case. Only you know what's truly going on behind those closed doors. Pay attention to your partner. Pay attention if things aren't the same. Pay attention of how he or she might be acting because these are all signs of there must be some type of change taking place. Don't be afraid to ask the question, honey, what's going on? Is there something you want to talk about? Is there something on your mind? We don't do that enough because as human beings, we become so self absorbed with ourselves and about our own feelings that we forget that we're sharing our life with somebody else and we need to be mindful of that person as well. I don't believe in my partner completing me, but he's a complement to my life. And I always have to be mindful that I need to be mindful of his feelings as well and not always be caught up in what I'm going through and what's happening to me and, pay attention to my feelings. So I guess that's my answer.
And I will say I definitely agree with that answer. As someone that's well, I'm not married, but as someone that has dated and is dating, um, it's so important. And I wish every single person listening, and definitely every single person in the world, understood the power and the art of communication,
Hmm.
right? When we're dealing with people, that's how we communicate. Either we're always communicating, body language, verbally, um, physically, whichever avenue that we decide, whichever vehicle that we use to communicate. And it's a shame that so many of us struggle with relationships, or as you mentioned, or we're talking about, experience crises because of lack of communication.
Hmm.
Right? This is something that we're taught at a young age, but it seems as we get older, we're not able to do it amongst adults, right?
I like to say as adults, we become such hypocrites. We tell our kids to do this, not to do this, to do this, not to do this. But then the same things we're telling our kids not to do, we end up being so hypocritical as adults and we end up doing them. We lie, lie often, not even little white lies, lie. But that's you're teaching your kids you shouldn't lie or you get upset if they lie to you. But what makes your actions okay? And I wanted to comment also, I like to say this because even though you're not married, the rules still apply, regardless if you're dating, if you're in a common law, because hubby and I have been together for over 20 years, but we're not legally married. We have a whole house, two children, we live like we are. And I say hubby, I say husband, I may say partner. It depends on what really flows out my mouth, but we're not legally married. I'll say that.
But you're living as such, right? And that's the importance of it because
Yeah.
you view it
Hmm.
that way,
Yes.
right? And you're right. Like we tell our children or those who we take care of, don't do this, don't this, but then the standard changes when it's applicable to us,
Exactly.
right?
And
And
modify it as need be.
exactly. And then we take it a step further. It's like, my child can't lie to me. I can lie to you, but you can't lie to me.
Yes.
Right? Because it's what I feel is going to trump logic. And it's scary to see. And I think that's part of, because I was speaking to someone else about this, a few people actually. And I think that's part of the reason, maybe why there's this disconnect between men and women when it comes to dating. We're not properly communicating what we want. We're not saying that, you know what, I'm willing to enter this partnership with you, this relationship with you, this marriage with you,
Mhm.
but this is my expectation, or this is the desired outcome. Does your same desired outcome meet what I want as well? Is that something that you would agree with is missing?
I totally agree. And it is missing because conversations that in the beginning of a relationship that people are scared to have because they don't want to scare their partner away, or they don't want to sound too dominating. Or our approach is all wrong. I know sometimes, especially, and I'm speaking from a woman's standpoint, if you're coming from a traumatic relationship, at times we'll automatically put men in the same bubble and think, you're the same piece of shit that I just left. So I need to be beyond strong with you, putting you in the same category and comparing you as the same in this as the same situation I left, when this man is probably not even like that. You're not even giving the individual a chance. You're already putting him in this box, comparing him to the last individual you were with, and you're speaking to him in such a way where if you would just take the time and just step back a little bit, make sure you're okay, be mindful of how you're talking to him, make your delivery, but you don't have to be so abrupt with it, you know? And I think we forget that this is our life that we are in control in. So if I tell you, I'll give you a simple example. I could say something like, the last relationship that I was with, it was very toxic. There are certain things I'm not okay with, blase, blase, blase. You give the person time to speak and you share your thoughts, you share your opinions. But instead of speaking in a more open minded, agree to disagree conversation, one person might be the last motherfucker I was with, well, he was a complete asshole. So what you bringing to the table? It's just like how we're talking to people. It's like, well, damn, how am I supposed to take that?
Absolutely.
Am I supposed to respond the same way you respond to me? And if I try to be soft, what approach are you going to give me? It's just it's easier for us to forgive than to ask permission.